Bad at all. I guess I could stop. Oh, hello,
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 hello.
everyone.
Go
Love
ahead.
that we do a countdown and I know exactly when we're going live each week. Hello, everybody. Welcome to part two of how to bounce back after a layoff strategically. So you don't have to take a step back in your career. Um, for those of you who don't know us, my name is Katie. I'm a coach at Career Sprout, and this is the founder of Career Sprout.
Hello and welcome, everyone. For those of you who are returning, we just wanted to say hello. Thank you for joining us again. And then for those of you who are new here, as Katie mentioned, my name is Gaurav Villani, and that is KMAC, and we co-own Career Sprout, which is a career coaching company that helps professionals in tech land 200K to 500K job offers. And again, if you're new here, every single Wednesday, what we do is we go live at 10 a.m. Pacific. And what we do is on these calls, we dive into all things related to the job search, specifically here in the US, because that's all we know, and how to land these types of offers. And so last week, we covered part one of this series called How to Bounce Back After a Layoff Without Taking a Step Back. And as a recap for those of you, again, who are new or not, what we covered last week was the best way to start your job search is never with your resume. What most people do once they get laid off or once they find themselves in the job market is they're very reactionary. So they'll usually not take any time into figuring out where they want to go, what type of roles they want to target. And because they don't do that, what they'll actually do is just put together a resume, talk about everything that they ever did, and then begin applying to as many jobs as they can. And as those of you who are doing that, you know that in this market, applying to jobs is not the most effective way to land interviews and land offers, especially those that would make you happy. So what we talked about last week was first getting extremely clear on what role you should target, making sure it's at the right level, and making sure that it's one that not only allows you to play to your strengths, but it's also one that you would enjoy and one that would also move you forward in your career as well. And the tool that we recommended, or the resource that we recommended to do that, is something called a career audit. So we covered that. And then once you are extremely clear on that role, then you want to use your time efficiently and make sure you're rewriting your resume and your LinkedIn profile to speak to that role. And in the resumes that we help our clients write and the LinkedIn profiles they write, the reason they convert so well is because, like I just mentioned, they are speaking to that role. They have very specific metrics listed out, very specific responsibilities listed out, and then very specific achievements that speak to this one role. And so marketing in today's job market, marketing yourself to that one role is extremely beneficial, and it's going to be a great use of your time because it allows you to stack the deck in your favor so that you can start attracting the right type of roles and never have to worry about taking a lower level role or anything like that. So that's what we covered last week. And in this week's session, what we're going to do is, now that you're clear on the role and your resume and your LinkedIn profile speak to that role, now we're going to talk about how do you actually start landing interviews without applying. And so what Katie's going to walk you through, and both of us actually, is the exact system that our clients use inside of our coaching program to start actually landing these interviews without applying. And so we'll dive into that. But I think K-Mac has a joke that she wants to share first. Is
I
that
do have a
right?
joke. Yes. Before I share the joke, because a couple of people have already asked about where part one is. I sent it out to the email list. So if you're on our newsletter, you should have just gotten the link to part one. But for those of you not on the newsletter, you go to Gaurav's LinkedIn profile here. And then if you see right here, it says events. Sometimes you have to click see more depending on how big your screen is. You can show all the events and you can catch all of the replays. This is part one, was the one that we did last week. This is obviously the one that we're doing right now. So that is how you can get to the replays if you are not on our newsletter. And without further ado, the joke of the week. Number one. I have two because I have a
Oh, you
feeling
got
that you won't
two.
like this
Oh,
one.
snap.
Yeah. Okay. The first one, I think this one's a keeper, so I almost want to save this one for second because I don't know. I think I may have already done the first one. Okay. How do flat earthers travel?
Flat earthers?
Yeah, the
I don't
people
know.
who think it's a flat earth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. On a plane. No, not good.
That's all right. Let's see what Stephanie Douglas thinks, or what Maya thinks, or what anyone else thinks. So that's not bad. But you have a second one, yeah?
Yeah, well, this one I thought may be a repeat, but it's just so good that I think it's worth it. Okay. What do you call a beehive without an exit?
A beehive without an exit. What?
Unbelievable.
That's a good one.
I just pulled something in my back laughing, and I feel like
Oh,
it's a sign of
oi.
aging, right?
Amy says, oi.
No, okay, how about we highlighted this one? That was pretty
Oh,
good. Yeah.
nice.
Oh, and Anthony. I can always count on Anthony. All right.
Dude, Anthony's crushing it, just so you guys know, in this search so far.
Ho, ho, ho. Big
All right.
shoes. All right. Are we ready?
I think we're ready. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them here in the chat, and then throughout this, live, we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. And I also linked the newsletter as well, so you guys always are up to date on the new resources we're sharing and things like that.
Cool. Yes, and same as last week, please do stop us if you have questions, or don't stop us, put your questions in the comments. And if we don't get through everything that we're planning on getting through today, we are going to do a part 3. Maybe even a part 4. I like the number 4 better than the number 3. Okay, so today we are going through, and this is something that only works, and I know, G, you already said this, but it's going to be so important for everybody listening, and I can't emphasize this enough. Before you get to this step, if you have not seen part 1, if you don't yet have clarity on the next role to target, and your resume and LinkedIn profile are not yet optimized, then you can't skip to step 3. It does not work nearly as well. And what we're going to talk through today is step 3, and we'll make sure that we share this resource with y'all too, because you'll also see and hear some of the other resources that we've mentioned along the way on how to do this stuff. So G, I'm going to skip ahead and we'll circle back on some of those stuff. Do you want to walk folks through how to find open roles first? So you've got clarity on the type of role that you're targeting, your resume and your LinkedIn profile is optimized for that. And now you actually have to go find some of these roles that you want to target. So I'll stop sharing screen and you can walk them through that.
Okay. So we generally have 5 different ways that our clients use to find different opportunities. And the last thing you want to do is just rely on like one job board or just a few job boards, because job boards cycle through rather different types of opportunities. So just because you don't see that a company is posting doesn't mean that they don't have an opportunity. So I'm going to show you one of the fastest ways that our clients will use to find a role. So I'll just share my screen and do it here. And so this is just one of the methods, and then we'll talk through a couple other ones as well. So let's go to this. So if you go to LinkedIn, there's something we use called Boolean searches. So all you do is you type in the name of the role you're targeting, which is the one that you're obviously supposed to be qualified for. And then you type in this. So like, let's just say you were a customer success manager, right? So you would type in customer success, then you would write the word and then you would write the word hiring. Okay, this is all you got to do. This is literally one of the fastest ways to do it. So if you needed to get interviews ASAP, try this one first. So what you do is once you hit search, you will see people who are saying, I am actively hiring, I'm hiring, we're hiring, customer success manager, right? Another one right there. Look at this. We're also hiring customer success. So right there, I just barely went through the full screen here, and already you saw so many people who are saying they are hiring for customer success managers. Now, the cool thing is you can just do that for your role. You can type in customer success, you can type in product manager, you can type in project manager. And then if you really wanted to, you can also type in the level, right? So you could even put like director or vice president. It just depends on the level you are targeting. That is the fastest way to do it, or one of the fastest ways to do it. The other thing that we do is when we talk to our clients, initially when they come to our program, they'll say something like, I'm not finding enough companies. I don't know what companies to target. What companies should I target? And they're always making their search based on specific companies. And I don't think that that's bad. It makes sense why people do that. But keep this in mind, including me, all of us here, we only know what we know, right? So if I said, okay, tell me the top 10 fintech companies you know, they might just get to like 5. They'll say PayPal, Block, Square, whatever, Coinbase, and a few others. And then they'll stop. So then they'll just only look for jobs at those companies. And so what I say, instead of trying to create a list of like dream companies, create a list of dream industries. So that's the second thing you can do. So like, instead of looking company specific, go to Google, wherever, ChatGPT, and say, what are the top 20 or 50 fintech companies? Or you can say top 20 to 50 enterprise fintech companies, top 20 to 50 fintech startups, and then create a couple of different industries that you're really interested in and qualified in working for. So you could put in fintech, health tech, SaaS, and just create these lists. So now you're not looking at dream companies, you're looking at dream industries. And what you will find, and this is the coolest thing, is now you will have a list of 50 companies per industry you can target, both at the enterprise, small to medium, and even startups. And now what you do is you can create sort of what do they call those? Not checklist. What's it?
Like a Dream 100 list almost.
Yeah, like a Dream 100 list, but you can create alerts. So you can literally
fancy pants.
That was cool, huh? No, I'm just kidding. Okay,
That
so
was,
you can create alerts for each of these companies. And what's nice is Google actually allows, I think, up to like 100 alerts or something like that. And so anytime any of these companies post a position specific to the one you're looking for, you will get an alert. And what we recommend is, if you really want to apply, great, do it. But just know there's a less than 2% conversion rate right now when you're applying to jobs. Most of you who are in the market know that. So instead of going directly to applying, you're going to want to apply instead. Reach out to like recruiters, hiring managers, cross-functional stakeholders who work at these companies, which KMAC will show you. So the first way was really quick, right? Your skill set, like project manager, customer success in quotes, and then the word and then the word hiring. And then the second way is create a list of dream industries, create a list of companies within those industries, and then 2 things: set an alert, or you can even go to their company website specifically and then literally go into their career page on the website. And the reason we recommend this too is because companies will always post jobs on their career page because it's free, but they won't always post their jobs on all the job boards because it's expensive. So those are just 2 ways right there. Do you want me to keep going, or did you want to chime in?
No, I think because we'll share this resource with
Yeah.
folks too. There's a lot of other methods there, and we also have a more in-depth video that walks you through that's linked there as well. A quick question that Chris had. Andrew said the world needs more alerts. I'm gonna call them alerts from now on. When entering the director or vice president titles in the Boolean searches, is that for the job description or the level of the person being searched? That's a great question. It depends what you're filtering by. So when you search for people, I'll share my screen and show you what that could look like. If you were just doing the search that G shared, he was just reviewing the top posts that had come in. So that is going to tend to filter more for the post or for the job description to have that title. But if I was searching for, let's just say, I'm just going to do director of customer success. I know this isn't the exact Boolean that he looked for. When you filter by the people right here, then that's going to show you the director of success, of customer success. Those are the people that you are searching their title. And if you add in and hiring, those are going to be the folks that are going to talk about being a director of customer success and the fact that they are hiring. So they are likely going to be hiring then customer success managers if they are a director of, or if they're a director of customer success. So that's how that works. All
Yeah.
right. Stop sharing the screen.
I want to share one thing before you jump in. So, because a couple people
Jeez
just,
Louise,
I'm
man.
sorry. I'm sorry. All right. So, for those of you who missed it, this is cool. I just shared this today. Katie looked at the data last week and she found that in Q1, 33% of our clients in Q1 landed their offers in on average in 64 days. But 100% of our clients all landed interviews using this system that we talked about last week and today and probably going forward. But if you want sort of like a quick snippet of like what's the system, what are they doing, what we're covering today and last week and all the things, it's all right here. And each of these systems or parts of the system have their own resources associated with it. And just like Katie said, don't just start jumping around. Like, this will not work unless this is done, and this cannot get done unless you have done this. So it's a very sort of logical sequence, and it might seem like a lot of work up front, but as you see from the data, it actually allows going a little bit slower up front. Doing these two things allows you to go so much faster once you start applying all these things. So I'm going to link this here in the comments, but just so you guys know, all of this stuff is there too.
Hey, would it be okay if I go on a little bit of a tangent of something?
Yes.
Okay. I want to say it was Simon, what's his name? Simon Sinek that I heard this from, but if it wasn't him, apologies to whoever actually said it. They made a comment about how one of the issues with AI is that it's removing people's ability to make it through struggles.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we see, and Garv, you talk about this a lot, is there's a difference between having a perfect interview response or a perfect outreach message that ChatGPT could write versus you being an authentic human being who has failed and makes mistakes and has human capacities. And something that we're seeing is, and I've reviewed, gosh, a whole lot of them. There's some really great AI platforms out there for job searches, like a bunch of them. But a lot of what we're seeing is that those AI systems for finding the perfect person, sending the perfect message, doing all of those things, if you don't do the upfront human work of figuring out what it is that you actually want, practicing and remembering like the human components of your stories and knowing how to build relationships with normal human beings, if you skip that, none of this is nearly as effective. And so like that's the one thing that I do want to call out is there's a difference between being perfect, seemingly perfect on paper and perfect when you're implementing something versus actually progressing in your job search. Like when you just showed the stats and it was 100% of people have gotten interviews, every single one of them, I think without exception, made multiple mistakes before getting that interview. It wasn't perfect, it was bumpy, and they had to spend some time doing some soul searching. And I just wanted to share that because I do think it's really important. Um, yes, I can't see who did this. That's exactly where it was from. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I started watching it, and that's exactly where it is from. Thank you. It's just I think it's an interesting take and a reminder to people that AI is awesome and it can optimize a lot of things, but it doesn't remove the human component that makes this process worth it, quite frankly. That is all.
It's a good rant.
Okay, next. Speaking of human beings, now we're going to go into, and G just mentioned this very briefly. I'm just going to show you some of the Boolean searches that you can use to go along with it. Who are we actually building these relationships with? So as a general rule, when you have found this job, this role that you are excited about, the people that our clients send messages to generally fall into one of these buckets. They're an executive at that company. They're a potential hiring manager. Of course, if you're going after an executive role, that's likely going to be one and the same for you. They are a cross-functional stakeholder, aka somebody you may just interact with on a weekly or monthly basis, and a recruiter, or I should say, and also recruiters. And so when you are searching for these folks, you can just go ahead and you can search for these terms here, and it should come up. So I could be vice president or VP product, right? And you can just insert whatever it is that you're looking for there. The other folks that we're going to be sending messages to are people that you already know. So building new relationships and activating your current network, meaning somebody that you know works there or someone you know is just a mutual connection. So there's a friend of a friend who works there and you're going to ask for an introduction. And then if there's time, we'll come back to the bonus folks at the end. Any other question, anything you want to add about who to build relationships with?
No, that's great.
Cool. And then, okay. So when you have, this is maybe my favorite page of this whole process, when you are reaching out to people that you currently know, I don't even care if this goes to people who you don't think can help you today. If you spend a little time each week getting yourself in some group vibes, which is what we always try to do, just growing with some ease, flow, and grace, one of the best ways for you to do that and get in a good mood when you're sending your outreach is to just send a little bit of gratitude to some folks who have impacted you. This may be somebody you used to work with. This may be somebody you used to work with who is now at a company that you've been, targeting, and just sending them a quick note. Literally, I just wanted to send you a quick note to say that I learned so much from insert what it is that you learned. Specifically what you taught me about whatever, specifically what you taught me about, having empathy for my direct reports before, putting them on a PIP or something like that, whatever the thing was. It's helped me come a long way, and I want to thank you for that. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. It'd be great to hop on a call and catch up. Would love to hear how life is treating you. And keeping in mind that throughout this job search process, we're going to go through a couple of tactical templates and scripts and things like that that you can send that should increase your response rate. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is building relationships with a human being. And even if you're reaching out to a recruiter at Meta, for example, and let's say the role doesn't end up working out. Well, that role that you were first talking about, especially at a company like Meta or Apple or these large companies, Adobe, that's just one role at a company that over the course of the next couple of weeks or days even is likely going to be posting more roles. And so by building one relationship at that company, using that role to get your foot in the door to a conversation, now you have an opportunity where you can give a little gratitude to that person after the call and offer to be a resource to those people and build relationships. And if that role doesn't work out, there may be another one. Or heck, you may have somebody in your network that you can introduce somebody to. And so that's before we get into like the really tactical nitty gritty, what to say messages. I just want to really emphasize this. Anybody that goes through our program that takes time out of their days or weeks to send these types of messages, as a general rule, ends up not only going through the job search process faster, but they enjoy it more and they get a job that actually sets them up for future success, whatever that looks like for them. That's my second rant for the day.
One specific use case, and there's multiple of these guys. We had a client. Think about, for any of you who are on this call that have worked at any company for, let's just say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or like 7, 10 years, whatever. Think about how many people who once worked at that company who are now working at some other really cool company in the world doing cool things. Now, whether you know them directly, worked with them directly, or maybe just, cross paths with them, those people are likely more willing to speak with you and catch up with you than someone who doesn't know you.
Yeah.
Not that reaching out cold doesn't work, because it works really well in this market if everything is done first. But we had a client named Sunny who worked at Salesforce for, I think it was like 9 years. And he was in he at the end of his time there, he was a director of customer experience, and he got 11 interviews out of this program, all by focusing on reaching out to people who once worked at Salesforce, either like he knew them, or his team supported their team, or they crossed paths, or he just admired their work from afar. And when he would reach out, he'd be like, hey, just reaching out to past Salesforce alumni, love how you've been doing, blah, 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 just like it kind of says here. And those people, once they got on with him, they ended up catching up, they ended up building a good relationship. And then those people were the ones who ended up referring him to either roles within their own company or other companies. And it doesn't always result in them finding an interview for you, but it results in actually building a friendship with somebody that you can help at some point, like Katie said, and they can help you at some point. You guys all know this, but the power of your, like, how fast and where you go in your career is not just tied to like what you're good at. It is also tied to the relationships you build with people. And this is a good way to reestablish some of those.
Yeah. And just, it's as simple as, if you go to your My Network tab, click on your connections, you can literally search with filters right here. And then just in the all filter section, let's say that we'll just use the example that you just gave. You used to work at Salesforce. Now, I didn't work at Salesforce, so I'm not going to have probably as many connections as somebody who actually worked at Salesforce. But let's say I used to work at Salesforce and now I'm looking to move to Oracle, right? And you can put all of your past companies here if you've worked in multiple places. What this is going to do is it's going to show you all of the people that you're connected to who worked at a company who worked at Salesforce, if that's your past company, and are now at Oracle. And the cool part is, let's say 0 people, I actually thought 0 people were going to show up when I did this. Let's say pretend 0 people show up when you do this. If you just filtered by second degree connections, you have all of these people. There's literally 8 pages of people who used to work at Salesforce who are now currently working at Oracle, that you can now send a connect request to, that you can now reach out to, that you guys have something in common with, right? And that works for any company. It works for any university that you went to, especially you folks who love to collect degrees and masters and LMNOP designations at the end of your name. Each one of those alumni networks, huge. There's another person that went through our program. She ended up working at Adobe. She just reached out to somebody. They went to the same undergrad. Didn't even go there the same years. She just noticed that they had that in common. And that was how she opened the conversation. Not only did he respond and share more about the company, that was actually the person that ended up getting her the interview for that role. She ended up working there. So that it's just to make sure that you're leveraging the network that you do have right now. And if you're doing it through the lens of gratitude, you're never going to go wrong there.
And I'm gonna answer this one real quick.
Oh, sure.
I think this is important.
Here, let me get rid of Groot in the background because I feel like that's a little distracting.
I'd love your recommendation on responding to a recruiter regarding a role they propose that is significantly lower level and or pay cut. Is it worth asking if there's any flexibility? Sure. Yeah, you can always ask. It never hurts to ask. But this second part is where I want to emphasize, which is like, should I ask them to keep us in mind for further openings? Do you know how many people ask recruiters to keep me in mind? Hey, can you keep me in mind? But nobody asks, how do you stay top of mind? right? It's like, yeah, keep me in mind, but the better question is, how do I stay top of mind? And so a really good way that we recommend that allows you to stay top of mind is to not just reach out or talk to somebody because they have something for you, but also offer to help them. You know how recruiters get paid, you guys, whether it's a contract, I'm sorry, an agency recruiter or in-house, it's how quickly do they fill positions. So now think about this. If you know that recruiters get paid based on how quickly they fill positions and obviously the quality of the person that goes into that role, then what could you say to them that would allow you to stay top of mind? So this is what we recommend. If a recruiter reaches out to you about a role, like Kieran is saying here, that's significantly lower level or a pay cut, you could just be straightforward and say, "Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm very, honored that you did. Just for full transparency, I'm actually looking for director level roles that are paying between this and that. So this might not be a good fit unless you think there's any flexibility on that role, on the comp for that role. But nonetheless, feel free to take a look at my network and let me know if there's anyone that you see that seems like a better fit. And I would be more than happy to make an introduction. And same goes for any other role that you're in recruiting for. Just let me know if there's someone you would like for me to connect you with, right? Too often, and this is a harsh truth, too often when we go into the job search, again, it's like counterintuitive. We're focused on us, and I get it, right? Because we're like fearful. But what we're doing as a result of that is we're just going out there making withdrawals everywhere. Like, hey, keep me in mind. Hey, do you have something for me? Hey, do you? It's like, it's all about me. But if you're making withdrawals without first making a deposit, you're going to have an overdraft fee, right? It's the same here. It's like when you reach out or someone reaches out to you, ask them very simply, is there also any way that I can help you? And if it's a recruiter, this is literally the best way. And this is how you stay top of mind. And then obviously the caveat here is literally do make introductions for them, maybe post their position, maybe repost it, share it with your network, do anything you can to help that recruiter. And that's how they will keep you in mind because you are now top of mind. So there's a bunch of rants we're going on here, huh? But I think this is really worth keeping in mind if you want to build quality relationships that will not just serve you for this job search, but for the rest of your career.
Yeah. And actually, I would love, let us know if these side tangents are helpful. We do
Yeah.
have, and we try to link the resources where we're a little bit more, hey, step 1, 2, 3, 4. So you guys, if you're not interested in the side tangents, but the goal of this call, this little part 2 series that we're on, it looks like we're definitely going to need at least a part 3 to get through the rest of it, is to, for anybody who's live, make sure that your nuanced questions are getting answered. That's really the goal here, because a lot of you guys, especially if you've been following us for a minute, you already know what to do. It's now just a matter of being reminded and or handling some nuanced situation that doesn't fit in a cookie cutter box. Okay. Oh, side tangents are very helpful. Well, that's good to know. Dang, we usually try to not do tangents. Well,
Yeah.
see, I'm glad we asked. Were there other questions? Any other side tangents before we keep going? Oh,
I can
well, this
speak to,
actually.
oh, no, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. We'll come back to mine.
Okay. This was actually the next thing that we were going to cover, so it's not even a side tangent. What do you do if you're targeting warm intros? You're trying to ask for warm intros, but there's not necessarily a role at that company. One thing that I want to start with by saying is prioritize appropriately for you, your situation in life. If you don't have any time crunch, no, like you're on an infinite timeline, no problem for you to do a lot of these where it's just literally exploratory calls the same way you would do when you're working, and we recommend our clients do after they get their offer. If you're on a time crunch, I'd be a little bit more targeted in reaching out to folks who work at companies that are hiring for roles that you're interested in. We usually use the 80-20 rule here. About 80% of your effort is going to targeted outreach with people who are connected to open roles that you're a match for. However, for the 80 or 20%, the messages that we recommend sending, let's say there is a role open. This is a really simple intro request message. This actually came from one of our clients named Michelle, who she used this, and I think she got every single one of her interviews from doing this because she had already built a really good network. I'm not going to read it word for word, but you're essentially just asking, hey, I see you're connected to so-and-so on LinkedIn. How do you know if somebody's connected? Well, you can see whenever you're looking at somebody, you can see all of your mutual connections right here. And so you could just literally click, and then you can see, oh, okay, like these people, oh gosh, Anthony's connected to them. Oh, me and Anthony go way back. Like, I would do anything for Anthony. I'd like to think that he would maybe help me out in this situation. I'm going to reach out to Anthony and ask if he can introduce me to this person. Really simple, easy peasy, especially, again, if there's a role open, that's the message that you're using to get your foot in the door. If there's not necessarily a role open, and or you just want to learn, you just want to catch up with somebody, then you can use the exploratory call message, and you can do some variation of like asking, if you're asking somebody for an intro, it's because of something that is relevant to you, something that is cool that they've done that you're interested in. So we've had people who, they are targeting roles that's going to allow them to leverage their Gen AI experience or whatever. You can find people who are really deep in that and ask for intros to see if they'd be interested based on how well your friend knows them, or just catching up on a call with your friend and asking at the end of the call for an introduction. Those are generally what we recommend if there's not necessarily a specific role. Anything to add?
No, except that, I think people just think that Career Sprout is Katie and Gaurav. We have two very brilliant human beings that work with us. Now, they are even more introverted than me and Katie are. This whole system that Katie is walking you through was built by someone named Catherine Tribuco. So I think we should just give her some love if you guys have a second, because this is literally what our clients are using to get interviews, and it was built by her. We're just kind of like the face of it. So if you guys can, let's give Catherine Tribuco a little bit of love. If she's watching, it'll make her feel good, even though she's probably a little embarrassed.
Yeah, she's on a call right now, but I'll
is she?
her in this so that she sees it.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can keep going.
She's the real bee's knees. Okay.
She is.
All right. Now let's say you don't know. Oh, hold on a second. Are we still doing knock knock jokes or what? I'll get a knock knock joke to close things off today, Kyle. It's been a minute since I've done a knock knock. All right, but before that, sorry, that one got me a little distracted. If you don't know somebody, Gaurav mentioned there's a lot of folks that go through our program where, yes, they're leveraging warm introductions and they've already got this great network, all of those things. There are plenty of people that come to us and they have no connections, like less than 500 actual connections on LinkedIn. They've been super introverted for the last 15 years and they haven't ever prioritized building a network, and everything in between. And so really simple, when you're sending a connect request to somebody, this is the one that works the best. Just looking forward to connecting with you. So if it's like a fellow ex-Salesforce, looking forward to connecting with a fellow ex-Salesforcer or Googler or whatever y'all call yourself. Then once they accept, I'm not going to read through these messages because again, we've gone pretty in depth on them. When they accept, especially if it's a recruiter or a hiring manager that you're sending a role specific message to, this is your opportunity to demonstrate and do the homework for them to show why you would be a good fit for this role. And again, I'm not going to walk through this, all of the instructions on this because we've covered it in past videos, but if you guys have any questions, let us know. But an example of this one, she actually ended up getting this role, was she was researching this role at Apple. And so all she did was she scanned the role and she looked for something that caught her attention. And in the job description, and you guys will have the link for this, you'll see in the job description, they talk about it's really important for you to have a blend of business and technical knowledge. And then all she did was she went through this job description, essentially line by line of the responsibilities, and she looked at, okay, what are they looking for? Well, the key responsibilities is somebody who can create process development schedules. So what has she done? Well, I've improved on-time delivery by creating process development
Mhm.
schedules. She's looking for somebody who can facilitate, they're looking for somebody who can facilitate communication and cross-functional alignment. Okay, so I accelerated these problem response times by facilitating communication, right? It's just literally talking about, hey, I've got this quantifiable win that I have achieved by doing exactly what it is that you're looking for here. I reduced lead times by driving improvements in supplier relationships. I drive supplier, integrate, blah, blah, blah. It's exactly what they're looking for here. And so it's really that simple. Is you're just doing the work for them. They shouldn't have to go read your entire autobiography to find out that you're somebody who can facilitate cross-functionally, that you're somebody who can create process development schedules, etc. And so this is something I can't tell you how many times I've seen people or I've heard people say, "Oh, I've tried it and it doesn't work." And they've sent one message and or 10 messages, and those 10 messages were the same across all 10 people, across all 10 jobs. If you're able to tailor this so that it's targeting the actual job, it speaks to the actual job that you're targeting, and then your resume, your LinkedIn profile that they immediately click to next backs that up, your odds of getting a response or at least getting pointed in the right direction goes up dramatically if you follow up. This is one of the most important things. We expect it, and our clients, part of the job search process is just managing your expectations of what it takes to get a response. If you're expecting to apply to 100 jobs, you should expect to get, best case scenario, 1 to 2 responses from those 100 jobs. If you are sending out 100 messages, you should expect, if you're following up with these folks, to hear back from about 20 of those 100 people. That's why we focus on outreach so much more than applications, is because it gives you an opportunity to actually build a relationship, but you're also getting a much higher response, about 10x response rate too. And so one of the things that we even tell people is, like, if you were 1,000 connect requests or 1,000 messages, let's just pick a big number. If you were 1,000 connect requests away from finding the person or meeting the people who are going to help you build a meaningful career and land a job that you're excited about that allows you to play to your strengths. If you were 1,000 away, how quickly would you send those 1,000? Like, if you reframe it in that way, it it's a lot easier to just put into context the volume of what's required now. Like, and I don't care if it's right or wrong, good or bad. If me and G were smart enough on how to fix the system and do it better, faster, whatever, and make it so that it wasn't frustrating, we would. Neither of us can claim to be that smart though. And so it's like working within the guardrails of what has been working and finding the time or prioritizing the time to focus on the human components of your job search, what it is that you actually want. Communicate, being able to communicate what it is that you want and saying it in a way that's relevant to the people who need that skill set and building relationships. That's really that whole sheet. And again, we'll share. I think we already shared it. If we haven't shared it in the comments, we'll share it in the comments. That is the whole purpose of outreach. That is the whole purpose of, quite frankly, the entire job search process that we're walking through, and what seems to be taking at least 3 or 4 parts, or 3 or 4 weeks with some of these side tangents. I think it's just like a really important thing to emphasize and remember here when you are sending these messages out to folks. You're a human that's sending it to another human.
Yeah. I think we should wrap here, and I'll go on a quick side tangent. It's like, to Katie's point, where people will say, "Oh my God, this doesn't work. This doesn't work." So there's usually 3 reasons why it doesn't work, or maybe more. Let me just go through them so I'm accurate. The first one is because they are not doing enough of it. The second one is because what you're saying is not relevant to the human you're sending it to, which is why we don't want to do automated messages. right? This is humans, a human to human connection. And then the third one is because even if what you're saying is relevant to that human, and then what naturally will happen is that human is going to go to your LinkedIn profile, just like Katie said, and they won't see what they need to see specific to that role, right? We don't want to come across as someone looking for some job. We want to come across as a solution to another company's problem. And that is why those first two steps that we talked about are really important. We talk about something, and I say this all the time, we talk about something called the Swiss Army knife effect. And here's the analogy. Let's assume all of us wanted to go buy a knife, and we go to the hardware store, and the salesman shows us a Swiss Army knife, and he goes, look, this thing has a toothpick, a nail clipper, a corkscrew, some scissors. And we're like, cool, but what about the blade? Does it have a blade? And he's like, oh, I don't know, I don't think it has a blade. Well, then we're going to be like, well, what the heck, we don't really want this, right? But if he first showed you a blade and he's like, look at this really cool blade, it's exactly what you need, it can cut through exactly what you want to cut through. Oh, and oh, by the way, it also has a nail clipper, toothpick, corkscrew, and scissors. Now we're like, that's very cool, right? So when I go on someone's LinkedIn profile and or their resume, they're talking about so many different things. And they're showing me, or they're showing the world, the toothpick, the nail clipper, the corkscrew, and the scissors. But the person who's looking at your LinkedIn profile is unable to see the blade, which is why for outreach to convert, the first step is to do a career audit to get really clear on the role you want to target. And when you're really clear on that role that you want to target, think about how much easier this makes everything else. Now you know, what positions to go after, thus knowing what positions to not go after, the ones that don't serve you in this season of your life and your career. Once you have that, now you know, using our pre-written resume templates and everything I just shared a few minutes ago, how to write your resume and make it super relevant to the person that you're reaching out to, right? So now you have that clarity. And then when you have that clarity, and then you start reaching out to these hiring managers, recruiters, senior leaders, etc., you know, based off these job descriptions, based off the alignment, what to actually say to them that's going to convert. So you have clarity there. And then when you get those interviews, which we'll cover next time, you have clarity on what they need because you're targeting one very specific role, which is a role you're really good at, problems you've often solved, and you can talk and prep around just those things. It's all clarity. The one step in the beginning, the audit, gives you clarity. And I'll end with this last point, is so many, and I talk to job seekers every single day, people who are considering our program through these types of workshops, whatever. And almost every single one of them says, I'm just not confident I can do this. Who here has said that to themselves? If you want to type it, you can. I'm just not confident I can do this. And very similar to what I said to Kieran about how do I stay top of mind, my next question is to them, when they say that, have you ever asked yourself where confidence comes from? When I ask that, most people don't know how to answer it. Very similar to how they don't know how to answer what makes you happy. And confidence comes from clarity. That's it. Clarity. Everything that you consider to be easy today was once harder. That thing didn't become less harder. You just got clarity on how to solve it, right? The job search is no different. This market, it is highly competitive. And to navigate this job market is very different than how you had to navigate job markets in the past. But the only way you can do it, it's not like confidence will magically appear. You don't want confidence to come from like luck. It comes from clarity. So doing these steps in the logical sequence allows you to move faster. It allows you to actually have fun, and you're doing it with ease, flow, and grace. So The whole thing we're trying to talk about here, if like literally if I could distill it down to all of this, it's just the word clarity. And it starts with the audit, which then makes writing the resume and LinkedIn easier, which then makes outreach easier, then makes prepping for interviews easier, and then it leads to your offer. And I'll tell you something really cool. If you learn how to do it in this market, the job offer, that's just the cherry on, like, that's what's it called, the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the sundae. That's going to become inevitable. If you learn how to do it now, imagine what's going to happen in future markets. You just learn how to land offers on repeat, but it comes from clarity. That's my rant.
There we go. That was a good rant. That was maybe your best.
Thanks, K-Mac.
All right. Well, on that note,
do you want to drop the
yeah. I had a feeling based on how the first one went that we weren't going to get through everything today. So I will link the part 3. This is what we will be covering next week. Oh, I actually nailed what I thought we were going to get through today too. So part 3, we're going to start with the interviewing. And this is going to be what I would say is more advanced interviewing techniques that are they're designed to help you make interviews more consultative and, dare I say, a little more enjoyable for you as a human and for the other person on the other side of the call too. And then we'll wrap up with salary negotiations after that.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for those of you who joined today. Again, awesome. If this was your first time, please let us know if this was helpful. Again, you don't know this, but not just me and Katie, but Danielle and Catherine, the two sort of like brainchilds behind all of this stuff also. If you guys don't know, we're always rooting for you. And this is literally why we put out as many resources as we can, because we know in the beginning it will feel hard, but it eventually will become simple. And so we hope that some of these resources allow you to do that. So again, thank you so much for all of you who joined today, and we will certainly see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific.